the summer of 2008, Beijing, China hosted the 26th Summer Olympic Games. As the first developing nation to host the Games in modern Olympic history, China accepted the opportunity, excited to show its remarkable economic strides and to claim its place as a 21st century world power. To understand how the Summer Games positively impacted China, one must understand the country's complex history and be exposed to the differing views between the Chinese government and the Chinese citizens. The benefits of China hosting the Olympic Games becomes more apparent when compared to the country's unstable history. In 1912, the Republic of China was formed, ending over 1,500 years of dynastic rule and beginning a civil war between the Chinese Nationalist Party and the Communist forces. By 1948, Communist forces led by Mao Zedong had gained control and formed the People's Republic of China. Mao Zedong brought huge change with his new ideas. His Great Leap Forward program focused on trying to rapidly industrialize China and put all agriculture production under government control. That became a national disaster. Over 1 million people were killed. During the 1980s, after Mao's death, the strict rules and regulations that accompanied his communist rule were slightly loosened. Private enterprise was allowed once again, and collective farming was ended. But the Chinese people still suffered and were severely isolated from the rest of the world. The Beijing Summer Olympics provided China with a way to end their isolation and emerge as a key player on the international playing field. Promotion videos of the Olympics with the catchphrase, "One World, One Dream," blanketed YouTube, hyping up the Olympic Games. Although there was a heavy amount of opposition for Chinese civilians, the government believed there were undeniable benefits from hosting the Games. The government wanted to show their economic and political strength through uniformity and infrastructure, hoping it would solidify their resounding economic presence in the world and encourage future investment. To demonstrate their newfound power and leadership, they reserved nothing, spending what translates to $34 billion to improve its transportation, telecommunication, and infrastructure, in addition to restoring historic heritage sites and creating a cleaner environment. The opening ceremonies alone are conservatively estimated to cost $100 million and include over 15,000 performers and organizers. The impressive spectacle came together on August 8th, lasting 4.5 hours, and was watched by 15% of the world's population, exceeding the amount of viewers for both the 2004 Olympics in Athens, Greece, and the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, Australia.
Our China correspondent joins me now. Peter, it's been so long in the planning, so long in the dreaming. It's been such a big moment for China. What do you think the country will have made of it tonight?
I think a huge amount of pride from the people of China. You could see it on the faces of the people outside the ceremony, anyway, down in Beijing, glued to the screens. This is a wonderful showcase for China. 4 billion people are watching that. 4 billion people, and what a display case for the new China. So people very, very proud, and what a price tag too. This opening ceremony that we've just witnessed cost £3,000 a second. £3,000 a second. It is the most expensive, the most lavish, the most high-tech and innovative Olympic opening ceremony we have ever seen.
However, the excessively harsh conditions faced by the performers set the precedent for the Chinese government's approach to the Olympics as a whole. Their object was to dominate, show the world their strength and that they were organized, successful, and overall one of the strongest nations in the world. They wanted to show their progress, but emphasized the economic aspect, rather than the social progress they had made, specifically in human rights. For the government, it was important to show unification in their people, which meant suppressing people who might jeopardize this image by protesting.
Wanting to show a good image of Chinese society, the government even went so far as to issue a booklet to 4 million Beijing households advising not to wear too many clashing colors, black shoes and white socks, and offering advice on how to shake hands and other basic etiquette rules. In contrast, many citizens had hoped that the Olympics would provide an opportunity to bring up issues that the government would hesitate to suppress with their usual methods. However, as the Olympics drew near, it became clear that quite the opposite was true.
Groups or individuals who attempted to speak out against the government or protest, especially in terms of the sensitive issue on Tibet, were silenced by the government and in many cases by a jail sentence. Many nations also held the belief that the Games would be the opportunity for China to demonstrate its compliance with human rights standards. As the civil rights and protester situations did not approve, some important world figures, including George Bush and Nicolas Sarkozy, threatened to not attend the opening ceremony. These threats, however, turned out to be hollow, for when the events finally came about, all the leaders were present at the opening ceremony, wanting to keep on good terms with the Chinese government, which promises an increasingly active role in the global economy.
While the Republic of China has long defined itself as a communist state, its actions concerning the Olympics do not resemble those of a communist institution, since there was clearly the presence of state control. It cannot even be said that the actions concerning the Olympics were those of a socialist system, since the goal of the government for the Olympics was not social benefits. The government's actions did in some ways resemble a system of classical liberalism that was based off Adam Smith's ideals that the state should not interfere except in public works, which could conceivably include an event like the Olympic Games. Their actions, however, does not entirely fit with classical liberalism, since the goals of the government harbored for the Olympics had more to do with the global image than public welfare, making it not entirely a public work. The Beijing Olympics also have the potential to be an example of Keynesian economics, which argues for government involvement in times of depression. However, since the Olympics do not come at a time of depression for China, it does not entirely fit into that system either. The system that best describes the action of China during the Olympic Games is mercantilism, since it allows for prosperity in the hands of the state. The Chinese government set up the Olympic Games in order to maximize profit, both immediate and future, and to present an image of economic and political strength, which does not directly benefit the public welfare, but rather progresses the wealth and economy of the state.
Although the plight of civil rights activists and the lower class were still ignored, the 2008 Summer Olympics positively impacted Beijing, China. The country devoted nearly $34 billion to improve Beijing's infrastructure. Over 430,000 new jobs were created in the process of making over Beijing and constructing the Bird's Nest Stadium and the National Aquatic Center. The new Olympic Code facilities have the long-term benefit of providing China with world-class facilities to help train their up-and-coming athletes. Transportation and telecommunications improvements were also made in the Olympic Village, which bettered not only the environment, but also the lives of the Chinese people. Beyond the physical benefits, the Beijing Games achieved exactly what China had hoped, to show the world their strength and development as a new world power.